November 28, 2021 หลวงพ่อโพสีสุริยะ Khemarato Satya Dharma Reflection
เองเลยแบบไม่ใช่อะไรในเองเลยเต็มที่หน่อย
Give the essence of that which has nothing within itself to the utmost.
ไม่ล้างกันในล้างเอง
Otherwise, there will be no purification in itself.
เองเลยที่มันไม่ใช่อะไรในเองเลยเต็มที่หน่อย
It's not about anything within itself to be given to the utmost. With this, it will be self-purification, self-cutting, and extinction to the extinction itself.
ตัดไม่เอาตัดเอง
Cutting without obtaining itself.
ล้างก็ไม่ใช่อะไรในล้าง
Purification is not about anything within
ตัดก็ไม่
itself.
ใช่อะไรในตัดเอง
Cutting is not about anything within itself. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself.
เองเลยเนี่ย
Therefore,
เองเลยเต็ม
เองเลย in the way that is not about anything within itself to the utmost. All the karmic habits within seeing and knowing and insights will be purified. All the significance and meanings that is given to all the looking, seeing and knowing and insight will be all purified automatically.
มันจะเลิกอะไรกับอะไรเป็น
All the อะไรกับอะไร all the involvement and fixation to anything will be ended, will enable to give ending to it.
มัวแต่อะไรกับอะไรน่ะมัน
The obsession with อะไรกับอะไร will enable to give ending to itself.
แล้วมันจะอุปโลกใช้
With this, the form up to use anything will be enabled. It will enable to give ending. The form up will be enabled to use it, which means not deluded to the form up itself. The form up doesn't obtain itself. The usage of anything will not be obtaining itself. No matter what is used, Dharma or the mind, physical body or aggregates will be used or utilized in the way without grasping. Therefore, well with เองเลย เองเลย that is not about anything within itself. The uninvolved is not about anything within itself. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself. Go ahead in the way that is not about anything within the non-attachment itself or within the uninvolved itself. It's the same essence as the uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. There is self-purification totally, ending within the ending itself. It will not be about any fixation, which means ending all the causes or the samudaya itself. Is to be given simultaneously for the internal and the external. With this, there will not be any straying to do the mind in this way and that way, attempting to practice the mind in this way and that way. It's not about anything within the non-attachment or the uninvolved itself. It has nothing to do with เองเลย nothing to do with the non-attachment, nothing to do with the uninvolved itself. If there are a lot of angles, being obsessed to use opinions and meanings in this way and that way will lead towards difficulty, Your tiny bit unrealized how much it is. It is difficult, To be obsessed to use titi, opinions and meanings in this way and that way. Being obsessed to deludedly using it there will be difficulty, there will be a lot of Vedana and hindrances and obstruction. There will be a lot of lifetimes, circling will be a lot. Cycle of circling within lifetimes and realm of existence will be a lot. This tiny bit is more than the so-called tiny bit of those mountain people. Eng Loei, that is uninvolved with itself. Eng Loei, that is not about anything within itself. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself. Uninvolved is not about anything within itself. It will purify for both internal and external delusion. If there is no internal delusion, then there will be no delusion for the external either. There is delusion to the external because there is the delusion for the internal, and it leads towards the external in such a way. All this delusion within oneself, deluded to knowing, deluded to the mind, and it's been leading towards delusion towards all things furthermore. The external delusion originates within the internal delusion, in fact. Without delusion within, then there will be no delusion without. It's not about anything within Eng Loei. It has nothing to do with Eng Loei. It has nothing to do with the non-attachment itself, nor the uninvolved itself. Eng Loei is the ultimate of all about ceasing, of ending within the ending itself. However, ending has nothing to do with ending itself. Ending is not about anything within itself. With this, it will be the compassion and great compassion that is unbound and given for samsara simultaneously. Otherwise, Eng Loei will be given meanings. That's going to be blocking. It will be a limitation to just ending or ceasing. There is no proceeding of great compassion already. Eng Loei, or uninvolved that has nothing to do with itself, non-attachment that has nothing to do with itself, is beyond brightness, which is the purification of no traces and emptiness towards samsara, which is happening automatically. This is beyond the brightness itself. This is even beyond the limitations within self-illumination. Otherwise, why mentions uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself? This is not to be stuck with just the uninvolved. It will turn into purification of no traces within samsara, which is called Sunyata Nibbana. It is the great compassion, which is proceeding all together with samsara simultaneously. Otherwise, it will be limited to just the extinction within oneself. It will be stuck with just extinction, ceasing and ending, but no proceeding of great compassion. Samsara still awaiting, Unlock right away that which is not about anything within the non-attachment itself. It has nothing to do with Eng Loei, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. To be obsessed with using significance and meanings, there will be a lot of karma and karmic difficulties and cycle of becomings. The obsession with อะไรกับอะไร there will be a lot of cycle of circling. Because of this obsession to give meanings and significance and fixation, it is actually the initial causes of the samsara. It's always happening in such a way of significance and meanings and fixation. That is samsara itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. It's not about anything within the uninvolved or the non-attachment itself. Just like not becoming samsara itself, not giving significance and fixation or involvement with anything on its own. Not to involve and fixate all by oneself on its own. Not becoming samsara on its own. Being obsessed to use significance and meanings, there will be a lot of karma and karmic difficulties. There will be a lot of cycle of circling because of such a significance and meanings and fixation. It turns into deludedly circling all by oneself, becoming samsara by oneself. My non-attachment to itself. Uninvolved with my itself. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself. Nothing is within disregarding itself or the non-attachment itself. With these, it will enable oneself to bless through Sunyata Nibbana and emptiness. Purify through Sunyata Nibbana, bless samsara. To be obsessed with meanings and significance and involvement, all such a อะไรกับอะไร What does it mean? It is the top-notch samuthai. Being obsessed with meanings and significance and fixation. This is all about karma and its retribution. It's all the karmic difficulties. Being obsessed with meanings and significance and fixation. Whether it is all about significance and meanings and fixation within oneself or towards all things. It's all about karma entirely. Karma and its retribution and the result which is difficult in itself. Use that which is not karma for the blessing to give ending for samsara. That which has nothing to do with attachment or non-attachment. That which is not about anything within involvement or uninvolvement. Go ahead เองเลย uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, which is not about anything within itself. Non-attached within itself. That is not about anything within itself. Non-attachment or the uninvolved is not about anything within itself. If unable to purify the internal delusion, That's it. There is no need to bless the external, huh?
โปรดอะไรก็โมหะในการโปรดทั้งนั้น
Because there will be just about delusion in the blessing.
โมแต่เอาอะไรไป
Being obsessed to use significance and meanings in the blessing.
เอาสิ่งที่ไม่ใช่อะไร
Use that which is not about anything to bless, which is called blessing through the emptiness.
สิ่งที่ไม่ใช่อะไรนี่ไม่เกี่ยวโปรด
Use that which is not about anything within the uninvolved for the blessing.
เอาสิ่งที่ไม่เกี่ยวกับไม่
Use that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment for the blessing, which is called Nirodha and Nibbana as a blessing. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself. Nothing is within the uninvolved itself. With these, samsara will be purified through the emptiness and extinction altogether, simultaneously. To use any type of dharma for the blessing, it will become samsara in dharma. It is desire, delusion, and elusive attachment within dharma, overlaying dharma. Don't be obsessed to use dharma to practice itself. Back and forth. That which is already anatta in itself, in its nature. Such a thing is not such a thing itself as it is. Dharma is not Dharma as it is. Don't be obsessed to use Dharma to practice Dharma itself. To be obsessed with using Dharma to practice itself, it will always be karma overlaying Dharma on and on. It is the delusion overlaying Dharma, turning into samsara in Dharma, which is called Dharma realms. Practicing this type of Dharma, that type of Dharma, in this way and that way. What is it that it's practicing? This is all the desire and the samudaya that is practicing, being obsessed to practice something within something, unrealized. That is the samudaya that practicing Dharma. All the practices of Dharma is the samudaya that practices Dharma. Being obsessed to use Dharma which is not Dharma to practice itself. Why being obsessed to transform the anatta into the atta on and on. Still creating Dharma as oneself. That which is insubstantial as it is, not about anything as it is. Still making up that which is not about anything to become something on and on. Still being misled with that which is not about anything into something. Why being obsessed to be deluded to the idea of this is it or this isn't it, on and on. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. It's impossible to use the uninvolved to try to uninvolve with anything. It's not about anything within itself. It has nothing to do with itself. Nothing to do with the non-attachment itself. Nothing to do with the uninvolved itself.
ใช่แม้กระทั่งไม่ใช่เอง
No is not even no itself.
มันจะได้โปรดสังสารวัฏเป็นโปรดสังสารวัฏ
With
ได้
this, it will enable to bless samsara. It's possible to bless samsara, to be obsessed, to give yes and no on and on, to be limited to just อะไรกับอะไร fixation and involvement. It's impossible to bless samsara. There is only just about karma creation. There's just karmic difficulties, karmic retribution, all about fixation and involvement, อะไรกับอะไร There are just about karmic difficulties, karmic retributions. It has nothing within เองเลย It has nothing to do with เองเลย It has nothing to do with the non-attachment or the uninvolved itself. With this, it will be well purified, the internal. It will not create delusion for the internal. Knowing will not obtain itself, seeing will not obtain itself, the mind will not obtain itself. This is called no delusion to the internal. Go ahead, uninvolved, that is not involved with itself. The non-attachment that is not involved with itself. Non-attached to itself. Go ahead. Non-attachment that doesn't obtain itself, that has nothing to do with itself. That disregards itself, that is not about anything within the non-attachment itself, ending all delusion to the internal, ending all the practicing, all the attempt to begin or to end, all the attempt to be bound or to be free will be ended, ending all the delusion to practice. Without giving ending to the practice of the mind, it's unending. Without non-attachment, without disregarding, there is no ending. Still practice is unending because the practice itself is the samsara. The practice itself is the samudaya, is this the samsara within itself, within the practice itself. Without mind, without non-attachments, is unending. If to be limited to just mind or non-attachments is not yet gracefully ending, it is only just self-ending, not yet helping giving ending for samsara. Therefore, this ending is not gracious. Therefore, that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment is to be given all the same, so that the mighty force of giving ending will be helping to purify samsara, ending at the same time, simultaneously. This is not to help each other to create something altogether, ending simultaneously for all and everything gracefully. Self-ending is not yet gracious because samsara still remains. Therefore, the essence of that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment is to be given all the same. The essence of non-attachment that is not about anything within itself, uninvolved that is not about anything within itself, to be given simultaneously for the whole samsara. with this เองเลย essence of non-attachment within the non-attachment itself will not create delusion to the mindfulness which is defilement within vipassana meditation. Being obsessed to just having mindfulness on and on is the delusion to mindfulness, significance and meanings within mindfulness, within fixation to the mindfulness. This is defilement within vipassana practices. Is the defilement within practicing vipassana, defilement within practicing Dharma. Being obsessed with fixation and involvement, that is defilement within seeing, within knowing. That obsession within analyzing, there is defilement within analyzing itself. There is no ceasing in itself. There is non-attachment within itself. Non-attachment within itself, go ahead. Non-attachment to the non-attachment itself. Being obsessed to give meanings and significance and fixation to observation on and on. That is the defilement within observation. There is no self-disregarding. Being obsessed to have something, practicing something on and on, which is all about samutai. This is all the form of desire that practices. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Disregarding within itself, go ahead. Non-attachment to the non-attachment itself, go ahead. Uninvolved within the non-attachment itself, try it. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, try it. It will purify the whole self, the whole delusion within oneself. This term of purification means it's ending self-delusion. Whatever types of delusion within oneself will be ended. Try it. Non-attachment to the non-attachment itself. Try it. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself. Try it. All the delusion to significance and meanings and fixation will be ended right away, automatically. Uninvolved within itself, go ahead. Nothing is within the uninvolved itself. Without mind, there's no ending. To end gracefully is very good. Use that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment. With this, it will turn into the purification of no traces that happens automatically. Compassion and great compassion in giving ending to help samsara will be proceeded on its own. Why is it so? because the essential terminologies that is called all the same will be automatically proceeding by compassion and great compassion. All the same that is not about anything within being the same, which is called purification of extinction, to be given all the same. That which has nothing to do with Mai or the non-attachment, to be given all the same. Automatically there will be the purification of extinction and emptiness. However, give the essence to the utmost, that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment, to be given to the utmost. Otherwise, it will add meanings and significance and identification into it. That which has nothing to do with Mai or the non-attachment, to be given all the same to the utmost. Then the mighty force of purification of extinction and emptiness will be given to the utmost accordingly. Then there will be nothing that is added in there as well. If there is an addition, that means the karmic habits and the samudaya is added in there. Then it will not become purification of extinction and emptiness already. Because there will be the samudaya that is hidden in there. All the fixation and involvement, significance and meanings is added, karma and karmic difficulties of samsara in there. Give the essence to the utmost so that the bits and pieces of delusion will be disappeared. Give the essence of non-attachment to the non-attachment itself, non-attachment that doesn't obtain itself, to the utmost. Simultaneously with senses and sense objects, so that all the bits and pieces of delusion will be dissolved and there will be no flaw. To be embedded with overlaying the mind that gives significance and meanings towards anything, we're just inviting the karmic difficulties of the external to join to oneself. It is as though receiving guests. The vibhak of the samudaya from the internal, linking to the vibhak of the samudaya from the external, it is flowing towards one another. Mai doesn't obtain Mai itself to be given to the utmost. Non-attachment doesn't obtain itself to be given to the utmost. That which has nothing to do with the non-attachment to be given to the utmost. Individual extinction is to be given simultaneously with the extinction for the external, for samsara, simultaneously. Individual extinction and the extinction for samsara is to be given simultaneously. This is not to be obsessed to ignite fire, giving significance and meanings is like burning oneself and all things.
ไฟคือตัณหานั่นเอง
The fire is the desire.
สมุทัยทั้งหลายนั่นแหละ
The fire is all about samutai. The cause of suffering is like fire.
มัวแต่อะไรกับอะไรมัวแต่จุดไฟ
Being obsessed to ignite fire with significance and meanings, burning oneself, burning all things, on and on.
ไฟแห่งสมุทัย
The fire of the samutai, causes of suffering and the suffering itself.
มัวแต่อะไรกับอะไรเป็นฟืนเป็นไฟ
Being obsessed to give meanings and significance อะไรกับอะไร so intensively.
อย่าไปพักตรงนี้
Don't rest within stillness and indifference, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Uninvolved doesn't obtain itself.
ไม่เอาไม่เองนะ
Non-attachment doesn't obtain itself.
อย่าเอาไม่ไปพักอย่าเอาไม่ไปทำเป็นนิ่งอย่าเอาไม่ไปทำเป็นเฉยนะ
Don't rest within stillness or indifference. Don't transform the non-attachment into stillness and indifference.
ไม่เกี่ยวกับไม่เอง
Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself.
ไม่เกี่ยวกับไม่เอง
Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself.
อย่าไม่มาทำเป็นสมาธินะ
Don't transform my or non-attachment into equanimity or meditative state.
อย่ามานิ่งอย่ามาเฉย
Don't create stillness and indifference from the non-attachment or mind.
อย่ามาเป็นเพราะเป็นภูมิแถวนี้
Don't create realm of existence around here.
ไม่เอาไม่เองเลยไม่เอาไม่เองเลยไม่
Non-attachment doesn't obtain itself.
เกี่ยวกับไม่เองเลย
Nothing to do with mind itself. Nothing to do with the non-attachment itself. Not about anything within mind
อย่า
itself.
ไม่มาทำเป็นนิ่งอย่าไม่มาทำเป็นเฉย
Don't transform mind into stillness and indifference. Don't transform the non-attachment state into stillness and indifference, huh?
เดี๋ยวมันจะได้ยิ่งกว่าวัชระในการจบช่วยสังสารวัฏมันจะได้ยิ่งกว่าวัชระในการโปรด
Then it will be beyond. It also will be beyond the instantaneity of the blessing.
มันจะกลายเป็นว่างลา
It will turn into purification of emptiness
ไม่เกี่ยวกับตั้งไม่ตั้ง
in the way that has nothing to do with setting up or not, being obliged or not.
เดี๋ยวมาตั้งท่าซะก่อน
There is no need for a preparation.
ไม่ใช่อะไรนี่ไม่เกี่ยวเองเลย
Nothing is within the uninvolved itself. Nothing is within the uninvolved itself. Nothing is within the uninvolved itself.
เดี๋ยวการโปรดมันจะยิ่งกว่าวัชระยิ่งกว่าฉับพลันอีก
The blessing will be even beyond instantaneity.
มันจะกลายเป็นว่าง
It will turn
ไม่
into
เกี่ยวกับตั้งไม่ตั้งไม่เกี่ยวกับ
purification of emptiness in the way that has nothing to do with setting up or not, being obliged or not.
ต้องอาราธนาเลย
There is no need an invitation
ต้องมี
at
ผล
all.
เลย